Chaos is brewing in Minnesota and Viking Nation. The storm starts right now with revelations no one saw coming. Picture this: a fortress crumbling from within, an offensive line torn apart by injuries, a quarterback battle wrapped in uncertainty, and a young star fighting his way back from the sidelines. Then imagine a rival wide receiver standing on foreign soil, taunting the purple and gold with a gesture that cuts deeper than any scoreboard. And finally, witness a bitter defeat that exposes every crack in the foundation of this franchise. These are not just headlines. These are seismic shocks that could redefine the Vikings' entire season, testing every ounce of heart, grit, and tribal pride that flows through the veins of this organization and its fans. Each story more explosive than the last. Each revelation carrying the weight of playoff dreams and championship aspiration. This is the moment where legends are forged or dynasties crumble. The battles begin now, and the question echoes across the frozen tundra and beyond. Do you have the courage to stand with US through the fire? Will you roar louder than the doubters, fight fiercer than the rivals, and prove what true Vikings are made of? Buckle up, Viking Nation, because the ride is about to get wild and every single second matters. Let's dive deep into the chaos and emerge victorious on the other side. The Minnesota Vikings march into their London showdown against the Cleveland Browns, carrying a burden no team wants to bear, an offensive line shattered into pieces, held together by rookies, practice squad elevations, and sheer desperation. This is not hyperbole. This is the brutal reality facing Carson Wentz and the entire offense, as they prepare to face one of the most ferocious defensive fronts in the league. Let me paint the picture for you. For critical starters are sidelined. Donovan Jackson, the promising left guard, is out with a wrist injury that required surgery. Ryan Kelly, the anchor at center, is trapped in concussion protocol for the second time in just 4 weeks, raising serious questions about his long-term health and availability. Brian O'Neill, the stalwart right tackle who has been a cornerstone of this line for years, suffered an MCL sprain against the Steelers and is listed as week to week. And if that were not enough, backup center Michael Juergens, the primary replacement for Kelly, is now dealing with a hamstring injury that kept him out of practice and leaves his status in serious doubt. When 4 members of your offensive line depth chart are compromised, you are not just dealing with a problem, you are staring into an abyss. The Vikings coaching staff has scrambled to piece together a functional unit, and what emerges is a patchwork lineup that reads like a battlefield casualty report. Blake Brandel, who has bounced between guard and tackle all season, now steps into the center position, snapping the ball to Wentz and calling protections against Myles Garrett and company. Joe Huber, a rookie out of Wisconsin with just 12 career snaps at right guard, slides into the starting left guard spot. On the practice squad, Henry Bird and Vershawn Lee wait for activation, both with minimal NFL experience. Bird has spent 3 seasons bouncing on and off the practice squad, with a grand total of 8 career snaps on special teams. Lee is a rookie from South Carolina who started at center in college, but has never taken a regular season snap in the pros. The only constants, the only pillars still standing, are left tackle Christian Darrisaw and right guard Will Fries. That is it, to proven starters surrounded by uncertainty, inexperience, and hope. And who are they facing? The Cleveland Browns, led by Myles Garrett, one of the most dominant pass rushers in the entire league. A man who feasts on vulnerable offensive lines like a predator stalking wounded prey. Garrett does not just sack quarterbacks. He destroys game plans, forces fumbles, and shifts momentum with a single play. And behind him, the Browns bring a relentless defensive front designed to exploit every weakness, every hesitation, every missed assignment. For Carson Wentz, this is a nightmare scenario. He is already under immense pressure to perform while J.J. McCarthy recovers. And now he must operate behind a line that might crumble at any moment. The stakes could not be higher. A win in London puts the Vikings at 3 and heading into the bye week, keeping playoff hopes alive and momentum building. A loss drops them to 2 and 3, staring down a brutal stretch of games against the Eagles, Chargers, Ravens, and Lions. The margin for error has evaporated. This is do or die. This is survival. Viking Nation, can this shattered line withstand the storm? Can Brandel, Huber, Bird, and Lee rise to the occasion and protect Wentz long enough for the offense to function? Or will the Browns' pass rush overwhelm them, leaving Wentz on his back and the season slipping away? The answers come Sunday morning in London, and every Viking fan around the world will be holding their breath, praying for a miracle from the trenches. If the offensive line crisis was not enough to test the Vikings' resolve, The sting of humiliation delivered by Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf in Dublin cuts even deeper. This was not just a loss. This was a public execution, a taunt heard around the world, a challenge thrown directly into the face of Viking Nation. Let me take you back to that moment. The Steelers and Vikings squared off in Dublin, Ireland, in front of an international audience hungry for American football drama. The Vikings fought hard, mounting a late comeback to close the gap to just 3 points. But the damage had already been done, and the man who inflicted the deepest wound, DK Metcalf, the physical specimen who has become one of the most feared receivers in the league. In the second quarter, Metcalf caught a pass about 15 yards from the line of scrimmage with 2 Vikings defenders closing in. What happened next was pure dominance. Metcalf broke through the tackles, accelerated past the secondary, and raced 80 yards into the end zone for a touchdown that sent shockwaves through the stadium. But it was not just the score that stung. It was what came next. Later in the game, Metcalf was seen joining with Vikings defenders, and he delivered the ultimate insult, raising his hand in the shape of an L and telling Minnesota to hold this L, hold this loss, own this defeat, remember this embarrassment. The taunt was caught on camera, spread across social media, and burned into the memory of every Vikings fan who witnessed it. This is personal now. Metcalf finished the game with 5 receptions, 126 yards, and that devastating touchdown, putting up one of his best performances of the season in his first year with the Steelers. After being traded from Seattle, he came to Pittsburgh to be the #1 option for future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and he is delivering. But for the Vikings, this is more than just statistics. This is a challenge. This is a line drawn in the sand. Metcalf is saying the Vikings are not tough enough, not good enough, not worthy of respect, and that cannot stand. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, the Vikings star receivers, now carry the burden of answering this taunt. They must step up, dominate their matchups, and remind the league that Minnesota has firepower too. The offense must respond with touchdowns, big plays, and relentless aggression. This is not just about winning games. This is about pride. This is about proving that the purple and gold will not be disrespected on the world stage. Viking Nation, how do you feel about Metcalf's taunt? Does it ignite fire in your belly? Does it make you want to see the Vikings rise up and destroy their rivals? This is your moment to show loyalty, to roar louder than the doubters, to let the world know that Viking pride cannot be broken by words or gestures. If you bleed purple more than you hate the Steelers, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment with your battle cry. Let the world hear the thunder of Viking Nation united in defiance and determination. While the offensive line crumbles and rivals taunt, the future of the Vikings quarterback position hangs in delicate balance. J.J. McCarthy, the young star selected in the first round of the 2024 draft, is sidelined with a high ankle sprain suffered in Week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons. This is not just any injury. High ankle sprains are notoriously difficult to heal, requiring patience, careful rehabilitation, and a cautious approach to avoid re-injury that could derail a career. Head coach Kevin O'Connell has made his position crystal clear. The Vikings will not rush McCarthy back. They will not risk his long-term health for short-term gains. They will wait until he is 100% healed, fully ready to attack, train, and execute at the highest level. O'Connell said McCarthy is entering the next phase of rehabilitation, becoming more active, working with trainers, and preparing to return to the field. But the timeline remains uncertain. According to medical experts, high ankle sprains typically take 6 to 8 weeks to fully heal. Depending on severity, McCarthy suffered his injury on September 14th, and the Vikings played the Philadelphia Eagles on October 19th, marking 35 days of recovery, or 5 full weeks. If the team sticks to the 6 to 8 week timeline, McCarthy might not return until late October or early November. That means Carson Wentz, the veteran quarterback brought in as a backup, continues to shoulder the load, and the pressure is immense. Wentz has started the games, going 1-1 while throwing for touchdowns and interceptions. His completion percentage sits at 66.7, with 523 passing yards and a passer rating of 98.2. Those numbers are respectable, especially considering the chaos around him. Both of his interceptions came on tip passes against the Steelers, not poor decisions or inaccurate throws. O'Connell has been quick to defend Wentz, saying he is just a tip ball interceptions away from an almost perfect stat line. But the question remains, can Wentz sustain this level of play behind a shattered offensive line? Can he keep the Vikings competitive while McCarthy heals? And what happens when McCarthy is ready to return? Does he automatically reclaim the starting job? Or does Wentz have the opportunity to keep it if he continues to perform? These are the debates raging among fans, analysts, and within the organization itself. McCarthy showed flashes of brilliance in his first 2 starts, throwing for 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. But he also played without left tackle Christian Darrisaw and faced defenses keying in on the young quarterback. His completion percentage of 58.5 and passer rating of 6 to 7.4 reflect a rookie still finding his footing. The comparison between Wentz and McCarthy is not entirely fair, given the different circumstances and supporting casts. But one thing is certain, the Vikings need both quarterbacks healthy, prepared, and ready to contribute. The schedule ahead is brutal, with games against playoff caliber teams that will test every aspect of this roster. Viking Nation, who do you trust to lead this team? Do you believe in Wentz to hold the line until McCarthy is ready? Or do you want to see the young star return as soon as possible, even if it means some growing pains? This is the defining question of the season, and the answer will shape the Vikings' destiny. Stay locked in, because the quarterback battle is far from over, and every practice rep, every game, and every decision matters. The hope was real. Head coach Kevin O'Connell said earlier in the week that his hope was for J.J. McCarthy to return to practice on Thursday or Friday, giving the Vikings a glimmer of possibility that the young quarterback might be closer to a return than expected. But Thursday came, and McCarthy remained sidelined, listed as a non-participant on the injury report. The reality sank in once again. Carson Wentz will start against the Browns in London, and McCarthy's return will have to wait at least another week, likely until after the bye. The injury report painted a grim picture of the Vikings' health heading into this critical game. McCarthy was joined on the sidelines by a long list of key players, including left tackle Christian Darrisaw, who took a rest day, left guard Donovan Jackson with his wrist injury, center Ryan Kelly still in concussion protocol, backup center Michael Juergens with his hamstring issue, right tackle Brian O'Neill with his MCL sprain, linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel with a neck injury, and tight end Ben Urosek dealing with a knee problem. Linebacker Dallas Turner was added to the list due to illness. This is not just a few bumps and bruises. This is a roster under siege, a team fighting through adversity at every position group. The only silver lining is that linebacker Tyler Batty, fullback C.J. Ham, and running back Xavier Scott participated fully in practice, suggesting they are on track to contribute on Sunday. But the offensive line remains the glaring concern, with Darrisaw resting and expected to play, and Fries healthy at right guard. The rest of the line is a patchwork of backups and unknowns. Randall at center, Huber at left guard, and Skull at right tackle. If Juergens cannot go, the depth becomes even more precarious, forcing the Vikings to elevate practice squad players Bird and Lee. I pray they can hold up against Myles Garrett and the Browns' defensive front. For McCarthy, the waiting game continues. He is working through rehab, getting stronger, preparing mentally, and staying engaged with the team. But his absence leaves a void, a sense of incompleteness for an offense that drafted him to be the future. The Eagles game after the bye looms as the potential return date, giving McCarthy nearly 6 weeks to heal from the high ankle sprain. That would align with the medical timeline and give the Vikings the best chance of having their young star back at full strength. But until then, it is Wentz's show. He must navigate this gauntlet of games behind a struggling line, facing defenses that will test his ability to read coverages, make quick decisions, and deliver accurate throws under pressure. The London game against the Browns is a litmus test. A win validates the Vikings' resilience and Wentz's capability. A loss raises serious questions about the direction of the season and whether this team can survive the brutal stretch ahead. Viking Nation, the patience is wearing thin, but the faith must remain strong. McCarthy will return when he is ready, and when he does, the offense will have a new spark, a new energy, and a new opportunity to chase greatness. Until then, rally behind Wentz, support the patchwork line, and believe that this team has the heart to overcome every obstacle. The journey is far from over, and the best chapters may still be ahead. The loss in Dublin was not just disappointing, it was revealing, exposing the single biggest weakness threatening to derail the Vikings' entire season. The offensive line. Yes, Carson Wentz threw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yes, the Vikings mounted a furious fourth quarter comeback, scoring the touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to close the gap to just 3 points. But none of that matters when the quarterback is sacked 6 times, pressured relentlessly, and forced to make desperate throws under constant duress. The Steelers' defensive front, led by T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward, feasted on the Vikings' offensive line like wolves on wounded prey. Wentz had no time to set his feet, no clean pocket to step into, no opportunity to go through his progressions. He was hit early and often knocked down and left scrambling for survival on play after play. Both of his interceptions came on tipped passes while under pressure, the direct result of a line that could not hold its ground. The running game, which had shown promise in previous weeks with Jordan Mason rushing for 116 yards against the Bengals, was completely shut down. Mason managed just 57 yards against the Steelers, a testament to the lack of push and movement from the offensive line. The trenches were lost, and when you lose the trenches, you lose the game. This is not a new problem. The offensive line has struggled throughout the season with injuries, inconsistency, and inexperience plaguing the unit. The week to performance against the Falcons was poor. The Steelers' game was worse. And now, heading into London against a Browns defense that ranks among the best in the league at generating pressure, the situation is dire. Myles Garrett is licking his chops, knowing that the Vikings line is vulnerable, undermanned, and ripe for exploitation. The coaching staff knows what needs to happen. They need better communication up front, tighter pass protection schemes, quicker release times from Wentz, and more help from running backs and tight ends in protection. But those are band-aids on a gaping wound. The real solution is getting healthy bodies back on the field. Darisaw fully recovered, Jackson back from wrist surgery, Kelly cleared from concussion protocol, and O'Neal returning from his MCL sprain. Until that happens, the Vikings are playing with fire, hoping to survive long enough to reach the bye week and regroup. The schedule does not get easier. After the Browns, the Vikings face the Eagles, Chargers, Ravens, and Lions in a murderous stretch that will test every aspect of this roster. If the offensive line does not improve, if the protection does not solidify, if the run game does not find traction, the playoff hopes will evaporate before Thanksgiving. Viking Nation, this is the harsh truth. The offensive line must get better, or the season is in jeopardy. The talent is there on offense with Jefferson, Addison, and the running backs. The defense is capable of keeping games close, but none of it matters if Wentz is on his back play after play, unable to execute the game plan and keep the chains moving. Demand better, expect better, and support the players fighting through this adversity, because they are giving everything they have. The road ahead is brutal, but Viking teams have faced adversity before and emerged stronger. This is that moment. This is the crucible where champions are forged or pretenders are exposed. Which will the Vikings be? Viking Nation, here we stand at the crossroads of destiny, staring down a path littered with obstacles, injuries, and doubters who believe this team will crumble under the weight of adversity. But let me tell you something. This is not the time for fear. This is not the moment for doubt. This is the hour when true Vikings prove their worth. When the tribal spirit that defines this fanbase roars louder than any challenge, any rival, any setback. The offensive line is battered, held together by rookies and backups who have barely tasted NFL action. The quarterback battle rages on, with McCarthy healing and Wentz carrying the load. A rival wide receiver taunted us on the world stage, disrespecting the purple and gold with a gesture meant to wound, and a bitter defeat in Dublin exposed every crack in the foundation. But you know what? Every great team faces moments like this. Every championship journey includes chapters of struggle, pain, and uncertainty. The difference between winners and losers is not avoiding adversity. It is how you respond to it. Do you crumble or do you rise? Do you surrender or do you fight back with everything you have? Viking Nation, this is your call to arms. Every like, every comment, every subscription is a declaration of loyalty. A battle cry that echoes across stadiums, cities, and continents. Show Metcalf and the Steelers that their taunt means nothing. Show the Browns that the Vikings do not fear their pass rush. Show the league that Minnesota is built on resilience, heart, and an unbreakable bond between team and fans. Carson Wentz needs your support. The patchwork offensive line needs your belief. J.J. McCarthy needs your patience as he heals. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison need your energy as they prepare to dominate. This team needs Viking Nation to stand tall, roar loud, and fight alongside them every step of the way. So here's what you do right now. Smash that subscribe button like you are crushing a rival's hopes. Drop a comment with your fiercest battle cry, your boldest prediction, your unwavering faith in the purple and gold. Share this video with every Viking fan you know, because we are stronger together, louder together, and unstoppable when united. The London game is just the beginning. The bye week will bring healing and preparation. And when the Vikings return to face the Eagles, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Lions, they will be ready. Because champions are not crowned in September. They are forged through the fires of October, November, and December. And if this week felt like an earthquake, what is coming next could be the aftershock that topples the whole season, or the resurgence that launches a playoff run. The rivals are circling, the doubters are whispering, and the stakes have never been higher. But the heart of a Viking beats strongest in the darkest storms. Stay tuned, stay fierce, and remember, the saga is just beginning, and only the bold survive. Skol Vikings!